Nitro is the glory, but E-Buggy pays the bills.
Sun City RC Raceway, the home of El Paso's world-famous motocross-inspired 8-scale off-road track.
Don't you have video for this?
20 years experience creating one of the premier tracks in the USA. Their world-class facility has everything: handicap accessibility, covered beds, skate starts, space for parking RVs, trailers, and lights for night racing. Follow SCRC on Facebook under Sun City RC Raceway for updates, upcoming races, or host your own race.
Woo! Thank you, Sun City RC Raceway, for the support of the Sun City SCRC Thought of the Day. Go check out Joey Showers. Tell him JQ sent you, and he'll get you a discount on an entry, or maybe he'll kick you out. Who knows? But thank you to Shower, Joey, Christian, Corbin, everybody. Christian went to DNC. They got a big race coming up here in March. TNR Fuel race is going there. So kudos to those guys. Really great family, really great facility. And you know what, Joey, JQ really does like you. I think you and Joey really are good friends, Joseph.
I don't think you should lie to people.
Hey, you and Joey Showers are the best of friends. Let's be honest. You guys like to drink Michelob Ultra together, and you both like to use your middle fingers. You know what I mean? But awesome family. Thank you for the support, SCRC. If you guys are in the El Paso area, go check them out. Awesome facility, great track. And see if you can beat Corbin with his control. I bet you can. I bet you can't even do a lap with his control. So this was a question that has been asked and asked and asked since last year. And I got a personal message, and I said, Keenan, I want you to ask this in the podcast, so I'm going to ask it. Drake started running 40 plus at DNC 2020. Right, he ran 40 plus. He, and that's pissed off a lot of the 40 plus guys, which I get it. So the thought of the week is, and let's put it this way. I just want this to be known. This is not a jab at Drake. This can be any driver that's 40 plus. Let's put it this way. It just happens that Drake is 40 plus, and he's still competitive in the pro A main of RC. Should Adam Drake be allowed to run 40 plus? I don't think that's the question we should be asking. Should Adam Drake be allowed to run two classes with one chassis? So people are going to be a little bit shocked at how I'm going to put this, but this is how it goes. I actually think Drake is allowed to run 40 plus. Just like anybody that's over 40, he is allowed to run 40 plus. Yes, it's no big, like him going out there and beating everybody by 2 laps. That's no accomplishment. Like, I get it. That's, his racing against like Greg and Saxton and those guys. They're not on Drake's level. You know what I mean? Drake's way faster than those guys at 40. That's not their fault, but Drake is still a racing and all that stuff. He can race that. The issue for me isn't really that, to be honest. The issue for me is that he gets 30 minutes extra track time before he goes to his pro A main in Nitro Buggy. And if you don't think this has helped him out, you just have to look at the last 2 DNCs. He's had the last 2 DNCs, he's had his best results in Nitro Buggy, a 7th and a 5th. This is not unfair to the 40 plus guys. This is unfair to the guys running the pro A main. And unfortunately, like, if I was a pro driver, I'd probably protest this. I don't think you'd win it, but I protest it. And let's get this straight. This is not about Drake. So what happens because I believe Ryan Mayfield can probably still win on nationals and be competitive at the age of 40, right? So what happens when Ryan Mayfield goes 40? Or you, Joseph, you go 40, right? When you go 40, and I'm not saying you're going to make pro mains. I'm not going to blow your head up like that. But let's just say Ryan Mayfield, I still think, will be making top 5s in pro Nitro Buggy when he's 40, right? What happens when he goes 40 and he gets an extra time? It's not fair to the rest of the drivers. It's similar, like people like, well, what are you talking about, Lefty? Well, it's similar, right, Joseph? At Euros, if you're a youth driver and you make the semifinals, you're not allowed to run the junior final. Correct?
Yeah.
So we have to, and people would say, well, that rule has to be applied to everybody. What about intermediate? Like Don Winkelmelder, he runs 40 plus and he runs intermediate. What about Degani? He runs 40 plus and he runs pro buggy, stuff like that. I think we have to kind of differentiate things here. Like in the pro class, we're talking about probably contingency money and stuff like that. Is it fair to the pro guys that Drake gets that extra 30 minutes of practice? And it's not about Drake. It could be anybody that's 40 plus that's in that pro main or in that intermediate main. I don't know. You know, is it fair? That's who it's unfair to, really. So I feel that if you make the pro main, if you're making the pro main, you shouldn't be allowed to run the 40 plus. Or you have to make a choice. Do you want to win 40 plus or do you want to run pro main?
Okay, so I like this topic. I agree with the question and the sort of reason for questioning this and how it benefits the guy running two classes, but I disagree with your conclusion.
Okay.
In my opinion, this is the same thing as someone in sportsman running intermediate also, which I think they don't allow, right? They don't allow that, right?
No.
You're only allowed to run one class per chassis, except 40 plus.
Yeah.
Isn't that how the rule is?
I believe so.
Yeah. So this is the problem. These race organizers only care about the money, and the 40 plus guys want the 40 plus class so that they can compete for the win, and you know, instead of having to race with all of these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they've just sort of got away with adding it as an add-on class and allowing people to run both. But it's not fair. And this goes back to that thing that I don't like injustice and when stuff is unfair. This is completely fucking unfair.
Mm-hmm.
And it will take Mayfield turning 40 and winning the DNC and the current sort of whoever is the young fast guy at the time losing to him, and that team protesting and people getting mad, or me turning 40 and then they just want to screw me over.
Yeah.
You know, it will take something like that, but that doesn't change the fact that this has always been unfair and is still unfair. And I think it's just as unfair for the pro class guys as it is for intermediate. If you're 35 years old and you do this as a hobby and you're competitive, and there's this guy who also is intermediate and 40 years old, and he gets an extra main and extra qualifiers every time before the qualifiers, and he beats you, that has got to be frustrating. Right? That has got to be annoying. Yes, this race, 16-year-olds were on the podium and this and that. That's irrelevant. It doesn't change the principle, the point. It doesn't change that. When you're 40 years old, there's no reason other than your life priorities for you being slower. There's no physical reason why you can't be as good as when you were 20. It's just that when you're 40, your life priorities change. If they don't change, if you still keep practicing and putting in the effort, you can still be fast. And I think we'll see that when Mayfield does turn 40. I really do. Drake is the best example right now. And I think we will have an even better example in 5 years when Mayfield's 40.
Yep.
You know? So that's maybe when this will change. I hope it will change already now. I don't think there's anything wrong with just making it fair across the board and saying we have sportsman, intermediate, whatever. We have 40 plus, we have pro. Pick one and race it. So that would mean Adams Racing Pro, not 40 plus.
Well,
maybe Don Winkelmelder and Degani and Ciccarello, they race 40 plus and have an awesome race there, but they don't race pro or intermediate or anything else.
Yeah.
And then the up and coming kids are racing intermediate and the beginners are racing sportsman. Even though I think that's already too many classes,
Right.
At least that's a clear structure where
Yes.
everyone's running their own thing, everyone gets the same track time, and it's fair. Right now, if you are 40, then you like this, because for most people, the race sucks. You get 2 qualifiers or 3 qualifiers in the main. They get 6 qualifiers and 2 mains.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, and typically also they get one class which they don't care about. So Drake doesn't care about 40 plus. He tests stuff, he gets prepared, he focuses on pro.
Mm-hmm.
Degani, Chicarilla, these guys, they don't care about pro.
No,
They
it's just
care about
runtime.
40 plus, you
Yeah.
know? So these guys, they pick one class which they like, and then the other one is just, yeah, I get extra track time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how it's supposed to be.
No,
It's
I
not
agree.
fair for the other guys who have to compete against these guys. And saying that, oh, well, they are 40, that's no excuse, you know?
Well,
It's
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 like this.
not like it's a disadvantage to be 40 and you need the extra track time, you know? It doesn't work that way.
No, it's I kind of put it like a funny thing like this. It's like, what if we made a class for fat guys? You have to be 300 pounds and over to race in this class. No skinny guy. If you're under 300 pounds, you can't be there. 'Cause, you know, a lot of fat guys in RC. I'm a fat boy. I'm over 300 pounds. That and then we have to race together in another main in an hour where I've had that extra 30 minutes and you haven't. Is that fair? Because you got a higher metabolism, or you exercise and you do good. You do good. You watch what you eat, and you're not obese like me, and you're over 300 pounds. You know what I mean? Is that fair? Or is it, I mean, just to put it at a different thing, it's not about age. I agree with you, man. And it took this race to kind of realize that for me, because I kept saying, well, yeah, I thought it was more about the 40 plus thing. But then, me and my good buddy, my buddy from North Carolina, Mike Hill, we was talking about it, and he was like, yeah, it's not fair. And then we talked about it, and like I said, I'm not digging at, this isn't a dig at Drake. This isn't a dig at any of these guys that's doing this here. It's allowed. So I mean, of course they're gonna do it. Like, right now it's allowed, so they can do it. But what it's gonna take is like one of these teams to protest it, and it ain't gonna change. Not gonna change, because we know that protests at these races don't change anything. About that DNC races. Are you there, or did you just go away?
My camera died.
That is nothing unusual. We're almost done here anyway. So I just want people to get that. This isn't a dig at Drake and what he's doing. This is more to show that it isn't it isn't unfair to the 40 plus guys. It's unfair to the people in the pro main, or whatever main they're running. So that's our RC thought of the day, I believe, of the week. Anything to add to that, Joseph, before we go on?
Well, just that I think this is a really sort of simple issue. Really, it's not complicated. You can only run one class per chassis, and you pick the class you want to race.
But we know the race promoters ain't going to do that, because they lose.
Yeah, they lose some entries, but this is the thing. Like, are you doing this to line your pockets, or are you doing this to make a good living still, but make the fucking event really good for the people racing? I think over the last years, we've seen that these races are being made for the organizer, not for the racer. And that needs to change, because we can't keep going on like this forever, because people will find better things to do.
Yeah. I mean, what if you what if you're a young kid, like even at the Nationals, I believe, I think, I can't remember, CJ made the main the last time and he got to run the junior final. I think if you make the main at the Nationals, or semis at the Nationals, you shouldn't be running the junior final. That's for the kids out there that, well, you can run the junior final. No, just make it a rule where you can't run the junior final. You wouldn't be picked anyway. But that's done.
The junior final thing is like 40 plus. It's not It's not unfair to the juniors. It's unfair to the
same
people
thing
in the semifinals, because the one guy gets extra practice.
Exactly.
That's the unfair part.
Yes.
And making this rule would make all the classes better. You wouldn't have some guys getting extra practice in pro or intermediate or sportsman, and you wouldn't have some fast guy who doesn't give a shit about 40 plus winning all the 40 plus races.
Yeah.
So that would mean that the guys who actually care about 40 plus and actually are excited to go to the race and try and win and beat their rival that they've known for the last 30 years or 20,
Yeah.
30 years, you know. They get the glory and the satisfaction and the enjoyment that they are looking for, because there's not someone who's still a pro, you know,
Yes.
winning the races and
Yes.
everyone's racing for second. They get that. And the pro guys don't have to worry about someone getting extra time, because it's not just Drake that benefits. That's another thing.
Right.
Drake is working closely with Mayfield and with other Mugen drivers too. So if he can go out and run one time before every qualifier and before the main, he can test stuff that the other guys want to try. Now he's on J Concept, so they can try stuff, you know. Well, this race, they know what to run. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, like, these are just opportunities to try things and get more information. And
Yes.
it's not just personally him that
Right.
gets more prepared. It's all of Mugen and whatever else he runs. They also have the benefit of having a top guy going out there and being able to test stuff for the
Well,
team,
that
you
goes for
know?
everybody too. It doesn't just go for Mugen. It goes for TLR with Winkelmotor. It goes for us with Degani when he goes out there. You know what I mean?
Well, that's different, you know, because he's
It's
not on that level.
right.
But,
I get that, but it's still.
you know,
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. So I just want people. I want people to be clear, because then they'll be like, "Oh, Lefty and JQ are against Drake and doing this and doing that." I am not against. This is not a bone to pick with Drake. This is a bone to pick with the rule that is good, that makes allows this. So I just want people to be clear, because you know how people like to run with one side of the story and get get the bull by the horns. My mom would say, you know. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. Either let, and you know, these 40+ guys, they're not on Drake's level. Like, it was funny, like people like, oh my gosh, Drake is just blowing these guys away, and people in the comments, I'm like, he's racing guys that were fast 25 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like Jesus, man, come on. Like, he's like, there's nobody else. Like, until you get there, then you'll be there. Then you get to race Drake in 40+. Then he'll beat you
yeah,
down the
but
road.
that's when this rule will change.
Of course it will.
they'll have this rule until I turn 40, and then the first year I can do DNC 40 plus, then they won't have it. Or
Oh,
then they'll
word.
do what I said, right?
Yeah,
That
of
make
course.
make it so you have to pick one.
I know. I know. So crazy. All right. Well,
Just
Joseph,
like
you know what,
Legends
man?
class.
You know what,
Same
Joseph? It's
shit.
been a great beach RC and SCRC talk. You know what time it is? It's time. Do you have anything to add before we go? Because we're gonna have a chat with
No.
a DNC chat, like a full breakdown here, I think, in the next interview. Maybe we have
Yeah.
a special guest coming on too. We ain't sure yet, but maybe we have a special guest. All right, Joseph. You know what? Thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody, for the questions. Think about the SCRC thing. Two things I want you to take out of this thing. Two things I want you to take out of these questions is the safety part, about being safe, and think about the 40+ thing, and that's open your eyes, open your ears, and think about, and your mind, and think about what we're saying. We're not. I repeat, we are not digging at Drake. This applies to everybody, not just Drake.